Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have a very horrifying upload from a subscriber out of Tennessee. What happens when you and your family decide to take on Dogman? We'll soon find out. Before we get into it, though, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership are in the description below. The merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. Finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost you a cent. Click that like button. Takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things, they really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. And yes, they definitely do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's upload, shall we? Hey everybody, today I've got a guest and subscriber named Roy from Middle Tennessee. He has a couple of Dogman encounters that are definitely, they're definitely creepy, and I got Roy right here to share them with us today. So, Roy, how are you?
Doing good, Jeffrey. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Great.
So you've had two experiences. I'm just gonna give you the floor, and why don't you start off with your first one if you don't mind.
All right. This one was in 1989. I live in a small town, about 80 miles south of Nashville, and I was doing a lot of overtime work where I worked at, and I was going through a divorce, and I was staying home a lot. Didn't really want to be around people, but I was working on some projects around the house, and I got up. I worked third shift, and I thought, well, I'll get up and do some stuff around the house and on the inside. And I went out to the garage to do some work, and I flipped the lights on, went inside, and I left the garage doors open. And while I was standing there working, I hadn't been there but maybe 4 or 5 minutes, and I stopped, and I felt a cold chill run up my back. I've never had that before. Never experienced it. And I turned around, and this thing was on the ground inside my garage, crawling towards me. It was less than 4 feet from me. And it weighed, if I had to guess, about 160, 170 pounds. But his skin was black, looked like leather, black leather, and its ears was on top of its head, and it had little tufts of hair on it. And I noticed the body, not much hair on it, and I guess I was, I don't know what happened. I said a couple of choice words, and it had a mouthful of teeth, and I went after it. I literally went after the thing, and it turned, and when it turned, it had hands instead of paws. That just flipped me plumb out, but I was going after it. and it took out the garage. And when it did, it turned the corner of the garage, and I took out after it. I couldn't have been 3 or 4, maybe 5 feet from it. And when I got to the end of the garage and turned to go after it, it wasn't there. This thing had literally made it to the wood line that fast. The teeth that this thing had, they weren't for grinding or chewing. They were for ripping. I have never seen anything up to that point in my life, and I've hunted everything you can imagine that we have down south. I've hunted all my life. And I turned out the light. I walked back in the house, and I just stood there. I just couldn't wrap my mind around it. This thing was not afraid of me. It was coming after me. And like I said, I was for a loss of words. I didn't tell anybody about it for years, and when I did, I told 1 or 2 people, and it freaked them out worse than it did me. Also, the second encounter I had, I was going to work. It was on a Saturday. Now, the first encounter happened at night. The second encounter happened.
Roy, real quick before we get into the second encounter, when you said it was crawling, it was not on all fours. It was kind of like what you described, like a GI crawl almost, right?
Yeah, it was flat on its chest and abdomen, and it was just literally pulling itself towards me. And it was, that was the one thing that stunned me. It didn't dawn on me until I got back in the house. This thing was crawling like it was a soldier. But when I went after it, it got to its feet and it took off. I guess, after all this had happened, when I went in the house and I just stood there, it was going back over everything that had just happened, and you're stunned. You don't know what was it? It wasn't a dog. It wasn't a bear. And, like I said, I've hunted all my life, and I've never in my life run across anything up to that point like this. It had intelligence, and it never made a sound. That was the beginning. At the time, there wasn't a lot of information about these things, and luckily for me, I found you on YouTube, and finally found somebody I could tell what happened to. Tell your listeners these things are real. Science may tell you they ain't, but I can tell you I didn't imagine it, and these things are real.
Right.
They're out there. And I did have a second encounter. This one happened in daylight. It was end of July, 1st of August, somewhere in there. Between 6 and 6:30, I was heading into work. And I remember this one real well because I had just bought a new Dodge extended cab 4-wheel drive. And I was crossing the bridge. I happened to see something. As soon as I crossed the bridge, I seen something running towards the road, so I slowed down. About 7 or 8 feet before it got to a 4-strand barbed wire fence that encased the property. This thing jumped, cleared the fence, hit the road, and now I'm within 40 feet, 35 feet of this creature, and I'm watching it run across the road. Well, as it started to exit the road, it didn't know that there was a 8-foot chain link fence on the other side. I guess the thing was not from around this area, or it just come into it, but it was running full tilt, and I'd never seen anything. This thing was moving, but when it run up on that fence, it jumped sideways on the fence and pushed itself off back to the side of the road. And that's when I got a good look at it. It was black. This creature was muscular. It had massive arms, massive hands, and it looked like it had black claws. And it looked well groomed, but when it hit the fence, I could see where the fur was, I don't know if you call it fur, hair. It's about 2 or 3 inches long, but there was a part down its back, and you could see the skin. It was white. It pushed itself off, and it never broke a stride. And I pulled my truck over, and it run by it. And I thought, now I rolled down my window, and there was no traffic. It's real early, and everything, I could deal with everything up to that point. But I whistled, a loud whistle. This thing's running away from me, puts a paw down, a hand, and slides around. And I had my head leaning out the window, and this thing's good 35, 40 feet past me. It looks at me. Once again, it had the pointed ears, a mouthful of teeth, and the eyes, they look like they look right through you. But it slid around, stopped. Everything was good up to that point, but when it started standing up, I didn't know if there was any traffic coming, or there was any behind me or coming towards me. I put it in drive and I took off. And the thing stayed there like it was just wondering what I was doing. But when I got, I don't know, a good 100 yards from it, I looked back and it was gone. Now, it looked like a bodybuilder. I didn't realize how big the thing was. It could have went 400 pounds easy. But I didn't see an ounce of fat. It had the dog haunches on the back, and it had hands. And it was something it was something you just don't see. And I haven't seen anything since. But like I said, I found your channel, and I thought that you and your listeners would like to hear an encounter. I mean, it's not as bad as some, but it's nerve-wracking.
Yeah, any encounter is, it's something our brain and society tells us does not exist. So I really kind of I hate when people are like, oh, I've got an encounter to share with you, but it's not really great. And then, you saw something that, every encounter has a lot of significance into bringing the truth a little more, to notice and to clarify. So now, did you notice a tail on this one? There was no tail, right? Or what about on the first one?
Well, the first one, there was no tail.
Okay.
And as far as I could tell on the second one, there was no tail.
Okay.
It was a magnificent creature. I mean, it was, until it turned around and looked at me. I mean, I thought it was just a wonderful creature. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it wasn't from my part of the woods.
Right.
And it's I'm retired now, and this happened when I was 28, 29, somewhere in there. And to this day, I still remember them as clear as it happened yesterday. Like I said, I've hunted all my life, just about everything that the South has. I've never seen anything like that.
Right. Yeah, and it was huge. I mean, and something funny that it just struck me as you were talking about how it was a magnificent looking animal. The driver or the passenger in the ambulance, when they came across this gigantic dog, until they realized that it could stand up, he thought it was like magnificent looking, and couldn't believe that, if someone owned this animal, that it was just out running around. And
Yeah.
You just explained it pretty much the same way, that it was just this, enormously awe-inspiring beast, until it turned and looked at you and kind of, so, wow.
It was, I've not, I've had animals all my life. Dobermans, Rottweilers, Labradors, German Shepherds. And when I first seen the creature, I thought I'd stop and see if I could get it in the truck, see if it had a collar. But that kind of left my mind pretty quick when the back of this creature, as it was going across the road, it was as high as the hood of my truck. That's a good 4.5, 5 feet. And that idea left pretty quick.
Right.
And it never broke its stride. And when I noticed when it turned, when it slid, and it slid around and it looked at me, it was not winded. The only thing it did was give me a kind of a smile. I hope that's what it was.
Yeah. Now, there was a point, because you and I had talked, when it jumped, you said that it almost looked like it didn't know that there was, it kind of turned and like touched its hand or paw off of the fence at one point.
Well, when it run up on that fence, I don't think the animal knew that it was there, because any other animal would have ran right into it. This creature jumped sideways with its back legs and its hands on the fence, and about knocked the fence down. That's how much weight this creature had, and it pushed itself. It literally bounced off the chain link fence and never broke its stride until I whistled. It'd been a normal dog or a deer or something like that. And, they'll usually run into the fence or try to jump it or something. And when a dog's running and they run into a fence, they just run into it.
Right.
But this creature, it didn't know it was there. And, I'm amazed at what I seen. It had intelligence. There was just some kind of, that's when it dawns on you, this thing's intelligent and it knows what it's doing. I made it on into work. I probably didn't say a half dozen words to the people I work with. And I worked through lunch. It stayed that way for a long time. But there was no rational reason to what I'd seen.
Right. Now, I don't know. There was, like I said, you and I had spoken for a while about some stuff. Now, I didn't know if you wanted to share this. There was a couple things that you shared with me when you were younger. You didn't see anything, but you had heard something. Is that anything that you kind of want to share with us, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, sure. I'm a musician. I've played for over 35, 36 years. And me and my brother happened to be at the house, and there was nobody there.
No. I was talking about the when you were with your dad, your stepdad, and your grandpa, when you were in the woods, the growls that you heard.
Well, my stepdad had decided that he wanted to go hunting and get some squirrels and cook them up for breakfast. So he grabbed me and we went up on the mountain here. And it had a light dusting of snow on it. And I was 11, 12 years old, 13, somewhere in there. And he put me under a big acorn tree. And he said, this would be a good place to hunt. And I said, all right. And, well, he took off where he was going to look for some squirrels. He hadn't been gone long. And I felt, it's more I heard heavy footsteps. And they were it sounded bipedal. And it sounded like it walked up directly behind me. And I heard a growl. And I took my shotgun, was a single shot, and I had always kept 2 slugs in my pockets. And I'm sitting there, I'm just a kid, and I take out the one shell and put a slug in, and I ease the gun together. And when I did that, I heard a low growl. I didn't see anything. I could see to my left and to my right and in front of me, but whatever this was behind me. And I heard it sounded like it went back the same way it came up to the tree. And it hadn't been gone maybe a minute. And my stepdad come around the tree and he said, we need to go. Well, he takes off. And I unload my gun and I take off behind him. And now my stepdad, he's 6'6", 6'5", somewhere in there. Good sized guy. And I had to sprint to catch up with him. We got back to the car with the guns up. We start down the mountain. And I asked him, I said, what did you see? And he didn't even look at me. He didn't even say a word. And, that was basically the last time I even mentioned it to him, because he wouldn't tell me what he seen. I know that he had told my mother. I'm pretty sure he had told her, but I never heard from him. He had his grandfather wanted to go fishing, and I said, all right. There again, I'm 12, 13 years old, just a kid. Me and my grandfather, we loaded the old Chevy pickup truck up, and we went to a place I'd never been before. And we made our way. We parked the truck, went off the road, found a path, and we was going down through it. Well, we baited everything up and threw it out. And we hadn't been there, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 minutes. And we heard something in the water. Something was walking through the water. And it was heading our way. He stood up. He told me to pull everything in. I did. And I asked him, I said, what's wrong? And he more or less, with his hand, made gesture, for me not to say anything. And I got everything in. He picked up the rods, and I picked up rods, and he picked up the tackle box. I got the bait. And we made it back up to the truck. He threw everything in the bed of the truck, and that's not like him. And we got in the truck, and this man, if he ever broke 35 or 40 miles an hour, I never seen it. And he had a 56 Chevy pickup truck. I thought that thing was going to fly apart the way he took off. I mean, it rattled, it banged, and I'm like, what's going on? What'd you see? And once again, he didn't tell me anything. And when we got back to his house, my mom and my stepdad pulled up. And first thing he did was he motioned for my stepdad to come in the house. And my mom asked me, said, what's going on? I said, I don't know. She said, I thought y'all were going fishing. I said, well, we did, but we left pretty quick. And I walked around and I seen him talking to my stepdad. They never talked to me about if they seen anything, but whatever they did see, it scared them bad enough that they didn't want to be around it. And they never talked about it. So that's a couple more that I was privy to.
Yeah.
And when you're a kid, the grown-ups don't tell you everything that's going on. And I guess that's to protect the kids. But I just found it kind of strange that my stepdad and my grandfather they never discussed it. They never, with me anyways. There's a lot of things out there in the woods that we just don't know and we don't understand, and they're not talked about.
Yeah. Real quick, people are probably wondering what you were gonna say before I cut you off about the musician thing. I'll let people share, or I'll let you share that if you want to share it. The last thing that I was hoping that you would share with us is about the boar population. You and I had talked about that, and is that anything that you're comfortable with sharing with that?
Oh yeah, because this very day I'm still dumbfounded by this.
All right.
a friend of mine had decided we were going to do some boar hunting. And boar is an invasive species. They're to be hunted, eradicated, because of the damage they do and the diseases they have. And I said, I don't know if there's a season on them or not, but I said, we'll go to the shop and pick up a couple of sportsman's guides and we'll find out. Well, while we were there, when we pulled up, we noticed that there was a state vehicle there. And so I walked over and I just asked him, I said, when does boar season? And they just looked at me. And I said, is there a season or what's going on? And he said, no, there's no season. He said, we don't want you to hunt them. And so I said, you don't want us to hunt them? He said, no. He said, if y'all go out and hunt them, that just means that somebody else is going to turn more loose. And without thinking, I said, that was a ridiculous answer to a question. I just looked at him and I said, what are you doing? You transporting a new food source for something in our area? I've never seen two game wardens leave a shop that fast. And the guy that was with me, we got our guides and we went back out to the truck and got in. And he said, you know what? He said, the look he gave you was almost like there was a question you shouldn't have asked. Now, as of this point in time, I don't know if you're allowed to hunt boar. But they told us real quick that we were not allowed to hunt boar. And we do have black bear here. They travel through our community. And I just found it strange that a game warden would tell you not to take out an invasive species.
Yeah, that's like I said when we were talking. I was like, that's the stupidest answer. That would be like them saying you can't go and hunt deer. You know, like
Yeah.
Because they breed so much. There's just an overpopulation. They're a nuisance. They destroy private property. And like, I think you hit the nail on the head. And those officers, they probably were like, Jesus, you know, we just got caught with our pants down on this one. So,
well, it was a strange conversation that led to even a stranger end. And you know, if they're not wanting you to hunt these hogs that just for some reason have just started popping up in our area, the only thing I can think of is they were trying to set up a food source for something. And we have mountain lions here at one time, and we have bears occasionally. But when you have hogs, you know, 3 or 4 of the sows can have a couple of litters a year. The population can explode within 3 years. So it didn't make any sense.
no, it definitely doesn't. No,
that was probably the strangest conversation I had with a game officer.
Yeah, that's definitely off the charts. Now, I didn't mean to cut you off because I wanted to stay on the path that we're on.
Sure.
The story that you were going to share as you were a musician when you were younger, I found it really interesting. I remember I was thinking about it after you had told me, and then we had, talked about Tennessee's Bell Witch, and I just it freaked me out a little bit. I will have to admit. So we got about 11 minutes, 12 minutes left of record time. If you want to share this so people can hear it, so they know what you were gonna say, you're more than welcome to.
Oh, okay. Where I used to work at, we had a security officer, and he was a member of the Bell family. And now we had went with him to where the Bell family house was. But from what I found out, it's no longer there. But we went to the cave. It's not far from there. And they had problems. People going in there and digging up Indian burial sites. And when all this started, he was telling me about it. So we actually went down there. And I actually went to the cave. They think that the Bell Witch back in the day was from that particular area where that cave was. And they still hear like scratching, people whispering. And we didn't stay very long. We came back to town, and next thing I know, he's moved to the Carolinas. The Bell family's had a whole lot of trouble ever since that happened. And I don't blame him at all for moving to the Carolinas.
Right.
I just don't.
Right. Now, the story that got me thinking about the Bell Witch was the one that I cut you off on, and it really makes a lot of sense because you had went to the area with a relative of the Bell family, and then you and your brother were at the house alone, and as you said, you were a musician. You want to share that real quick?
Well, it's it's kind of funny, but me and my brother had walked in the house, and our mom and stepdad was gone, and we were sitting there talking about things that was going on for the weekend, and I heard a pop, and my brother looked at me like he'd seen a ghost, and I just kind of let it go. Well, upstairs, I kept my trap set, and I heard another pop, and it was, I looked at my brother and I said, I thought you said they weren't home. He said, they ain't home. And it got kind of quiet, and we started talking again, and then we heard, and I mean, there's no mistaking zildjian cymbals. That's all I've ever used. We heard like somebody doing a roll on the cymbal, and it got louder and louder, and I looked at my brother, and he's sitting on the couch freaking plumb out. He said, are you going to go up there? I said, no. And he said, why not? I said, well, they can play on them all they want. As long as they don't destroy them, I'm happy with it. And then we heard a pop again, and me and him both left the house. There was nobody there. Nobody. Except me and him. And we heard, before we left, the cymbal quit vibrating. And we heard something run down the steps. And me and him both sitting there looking at the staircase. There's nobody on them steps. that's when we decided it was time to leave. It's like I said, I don't mind sharing my house with things as long as they leave me alone. You know, I'd rather not. But like I said, it didn't bother me, and didn't tear nothing up. I wasn't going to go up there and mess with it. After that, we had a lot of incidents around the house. Be asleep, you'd hear something rummaging through, like where you keep your knives and forks. You'd hear a door open or close. Nothing ever tried to hurt us, but we still own the house. It's different, I'll say that. When you grow up in something like that, it's a little different. You just kind of learn to live with it.
Right. Just gotta accept it, I guess.
Yeah, there ain't much you can do about it.
Yeah. Now, I remember when you and I first started talking and you shared your two encounters. The second one, the first one blew my mind by the GI crawl, you know, how he was trying to sneak up on you. The second one was when it slid sideways. But the most thing out of your and I's conversation about the Dogman is the incident with the wildlife officer. It baffles me and it amazes me that they are, that like you said, you called it with the boar, and it's very strange that they want to keep wild boar as a food source. And
well, that's the only thing we could think of. Yeah. I mean,
and your friend knew too. I think your friend said, isn't that what you were talking about, or something like that, or
yeah,
because you had said Dogman to the guy or something, and your buddy said, isn't that what you seen, or it just, the look he gave you, as how you described it, was like a kind of like a fuck you, shut your mouth, I'm getting out of here now. And it's just it's crazy. And that was but what year about was that?
Oh, let's see here. That was probably about 4 years ago.
Okay, 2016.
Yeah, it was. We wanted to go do some boar hunting. We had got some friends that live up on the mountain. They said they were tearing up their property, but that game warden, he said they're not to be hunted. And when I said what I said to him, he didn't like it. He didn't say nothing. He just walked out, him and his partner. And when we got in my truck to go back to our house, my friend, he's one of the few that I had told what I had seen. And he had a dumbfounded look on his face, and he said, "Those things you've seen, is that what they're feeding?" I said, if you don't hunt an invasive species like hogs, they multiply, and they multiply. And I said, that's the only thing I can think of. And he said, well, the look on his face was just weird. I said, we're not going to be hunting any hogs anytime soon. So until this very day, we've not went hog hunting. I mean, we've been deer hunting a couple of times. There's a place called Catoosa that's up around Cross Nashville, Tennessee. And there's plenty of hogs there. They've been there since I was 17, 18, but way before that. They've always been there as far as I've been on the planet. But it kind of, after I talked to the game wardens and we come home, I sat and thought about it. And the look on the game warden's face was like you said, you need to shut your mouth and we're out of here. So yeah. I didn't argue with him. Wasn't going to. But it's strange what you can find out from people just by the looks on their face.
Absolutely. And their body gesture, and, it's insane. Well, we're coming up on the time. Roy, I want to thank you for taking your time out of your day to share your encounters with everybody. I appreciate it, and I hope that you stay safe and healthy through all this weird shit that's going on. You got any last words that you'd like to say to everybody, or?
Yeah, to your listeners and to you, I'd like to say thank you. These are things that I have kept to myself for many, many, many years. There's only 2 or 3 people that I've ever said anything to. And it's good, I started listening to your show and subscribed to it. And of all the people that are out there, you seem to be generally wanting to help people. You let them tell their story. And that makes a big difference. Those things are real. They're out there. And, I'm not going to hunt them. I have no reason to. So, as far as Bigfoot, Dogman, they're real. The government won't tell you that, but they're real. Don't know why they're here. Don't know how they got here. But these things, they're still here. They're not going anywhere.
No, I don't think so.
I just appreciate you having me on.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, my friend. And thanks again. And guys, with that, I'm going to bid you guys farewell. Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this very amazing interview as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I really do appreciate all of your support. Your support is what makes this channel so special and what continues to make it grow and go. The community you guys have created in that comment section is second to none. It really is a family. The Dogman fam. The amount of respect, understanding, compassion. It is really second to none. Thank you. Thank you so much. You guys really are the foundation of this platform. Everyone, please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, our pets, our family, and friends. These creatures are real. They are out there, and they are dangerous. If we share a little bit of information, that same information that we share here with each other on a daily basis, with the people that we love and care about, it may just save their lives someday. Always push back. God bless.